At just 14 years old, Freddy Adu was taking over the football world, with him signing a professional contract in the MLS, becoming the most famous US M&T player at the time, taking over mainstream media with TV appearances, etc., and even doing an ad with Pelé, contributing to his nickname, the American Pelé, from back in the day. But with all that attention from news outlets and European clubs, and with the addition of the weights and hopes of a nation on a teenager's back, it was only inevitable that Freddy Adu wouldn't live up to everybody's high expectations of him and crumble. But what happened to the wonder kid that was dubbed the next superstar, the next Pelé? Where did he go, and what happened to his career? Well, let's take a look at the disappearance of probably the biggest wonder kid fall off of all time, Freddy Adu. Now, although Freddy Adu is an African American who played for the United States, he was actually born on June 2nd, 1989, and raised in the port city of Tema, Ghana, where he would spend most of his childhood years playing street football against men who were 3 times his age. Eventually, in 1997, Freddy's mom, Amelia Adu, won a green card through the Diversity Immigrant Lottery, which is a United States government program which gives out visas annually to 55,000 people out of over 10 million just so the country can diversify their population. The Adu family got lucky that year, and they moved to Rockville, Maryland in the United States, where Freddy Adu would continue his education and footballing dreams. Life in the United States started off hard for Freddy Adu and his family though. For starters, playing football in the United States, or soccer is what it's called here, was difficult, where Freddy Adu even saying in an interview that nobody wanted to play soccer with them outside, and when other kids did come out to play, they only wanted to play basketball. Not only that, when the Adu family moved to Maryland, Freddy's father left the picture, never to return, and the mother Amelia had to pick up 2 jobs that required over 70 hours of work per week just to make ends meet. It was initially rough for the Adu family, as you can see, but Adu's start of his football dreams would begin soon enough. That's because during elementary school, Adu would impress his classmates during recess, showcasing his high level of talent in the sport. This would lead to one of his classmates inviting him to play with his U team at a tournament, and at the tourney, Freddy Adu would shine, helping the U team win the tournament with all the goals scored by him. Eventually, this caught the eye of Arnold Tarzi, the coach of Potomac Cougars at the time, and that very same night, he saw Freddy and convinced him to join his team. Eventually, with Freddy Adu balling out for the Cougars and catching the eye of many, he was invited to play with the US Olympic Development Program for an under 14 tournament when he was just 10 years old. At this tournament too, the US team had to play some European giants, like Juventus, Lazio, etc. But this wasn't a problem for Freddy Adu, who was playing 4 years up, and he led the US to win the competition, winning the Golden Boot, and was also named the best player of the tournament. At this tournament is when Italian giants Inter Milan noticed him as well, and they were willing to offer him and his family $750,000 to acquire the 10-year-old's services. But the offer was actually rejected by Freddy's mother, Amelia Adu, who said she didn't want to rush her son into any decisions, and that he was just a kid and she didn't want to sell her son when they had a good opportunity to make something happen for themselves in the United States. Now obviously in hindsight, this might have not been the best decision career-wise, but can you blame Amelia? It's her kid, and she didn't want to lose him and believe that there will be another opportunity down the road, which she would be right about, so you can't really blame her for stepping in and rejecting this deal. Eventually, after being a football standout, Freddy Adu was offered a spot at the IMG Academy in Florida, which is a preparatory boarding school where some of the most promising young athletes are developed and nurtured. And although Freddy Adu didn't enjoy his time there, because they focus much more on developing physically rather than the ball at your feet, which just genuinely sounds like the most American thing ever, we really need to change that physicality ideology around, bro. But anyways, something good did come out of the IMG Academy for Freddy Adu, and that was gaining the attention of Thomas Rongen, the US Under-20 coach at the time, who eventually got him a spot on the FIFA Under-17 2003 World Cup in Finland, and then in the FIFA Under-20 2003 World Cup in the UAE a few months after that, all while still being 13 years old at the time. Specifically at the Under-17 World Cup, Freddy Adu would enjoy an amazing tournament, displaying his wonderful quick feet, amazing agility, and scary accurate left foot. Adu would manage to score 4 goals in 4 games at the Under-17 World Cup, including a hat-trick in the US's opening game against South Korea, taking away the spotlight from other future superstars in the sport, like David Silva, Keylor Navas, and Cesc Fabregas, for example, who were also there. With the US maneuvering through their difficult group, thanks to Adu's excellence, the American sports media took a lot more interest in him, and they started to build up the hype for this kid, like writing stories about him and making him the cover of certain magazines, etc. Eventually, in the year 2003, Nike would offer Freddy Adu a $1 million for 4 years endorsement deal, in which Adu gladly accepted, making him earn more than his American soccer counterparts without even playing a single minute of professional football yet. Now in 2004, there was a ton of speculation regarding Freddy Adu's future and whether he would take his talents to Europe or play in the MLS, a newborn league in the US at the time. The thing is, according to FIFA regulations, European clubs are not allowed to sign a foreign player and play them competitively before they turn 16 or sometimes even 18, which meant that if Freddy Adu chose to go to Europe at the time, he would have to play only academy football. While in the MLS, there aren't any rules suggesting that a teenage American player can't play professional football, and in the US, he would immediately become the star of the league and get first team minutes. So with that, Freddy Adu opted to join the MLS draft, and for those of you who don't know what a draft is, basically teams who underperform in the league prior get the best picks at upcoming superstars coming out of the college system usually. However, the team first in line was FC Dallas, but in order to appease Freddy Adu and his family, the MLS made an arrangement to have DC United get the first pick in the 2004 MLS Super Draft, where they would obviously pick Adu as the #1 overall pick. And with the selection, the MLS had a new superstar, and DC United paid him like a star too, giving him a contract of $500,000 per year, which back in 2004 for the MLS was really good. And also, his teammates that were much older than him were earning a lot less than this 14-year-old wonder kid. To put this into even more perspective, Landon Donovan, who's labeled initially as USA's golden child in football, with them having a successful 2002 World Cup and even being named the best player of the tournament, he was earning a little less than $375,000 per year. And Adu was earning more than that without ever kicking a ball at the professional level. That's how hyped Freddy Adu was. Not only that, with Freddy Adu being the new shiny toy in the league, he was earning the US Soccer Federation and the MLS a lot of money. When Freddy Adu was given his debut, becoming the youngest player to ever debut among the top North American professional sports leagues, which fun fact was actually recently broken by the 14-year-old Kevin Sullivan from the Philadelphia Union. More than 2 million people in the States tuned in to watch Adu play his first minutes of senior team football. Plus, Freddy Adu would increase the average attendance of DC United games by more than 10,000 people, which just shows how influential Freddy Adu was at just 14 years old. Speaking of influence, when Freddy Adu was at the peak level of stardom, getting invited to do talk shows, being followed by the paparazzi, etc., he also got the opportunity to film an advertisement video for Sierra Mist with the Brazilian legend Pelé. May he rest in peace. In this advertisement too, it showed Freddy Adu winning this one-on-one dribbling/juggling battle with Pelé, and with that, it only built on to the hype that Freddy Adu was going to be the next Pelé and the savior of US soccer, someone who could bring the World Cup home by himself to the red, white, and blue. And honestly, this was kind of damaging to Freddy Adu. Sure, he was becoming famous, and I'm sure because of him, soccer grew in popularity in the United States at the time, but to put that much pressure and hope on a 14-year-old's back, who should be growing and developing normally, shouldn't really do him any good. Regardless, in Freddy Adu's first season in MLS, he finished the year with 5 goals and 3 assists, and he even played in all 30 regular season games, and eventually played a part in DC United winning the MLS Cup, the first time they won the league in 5 years. Freddy wasn't content with that though. In fact, before the next season started, he got suspended for 1 match for talking about how he wanted more game time, which is kind of crazy for a 14-year-old to be demanding that, but the reason he was saying all this was because he got relegated to the substitutes and most of his minutes were him coming off the bench. And since Freddy would obviously believe in his own hype, since people were probably telling him in his ear all the time that he's him, he probably felt like that he deserved more minutes. Eventually, with all this, Freddy Adu would go out on trial with English giants Manchester United in November 2006 because Sir Alex Ferguson was really keen on the American youngster. Sadly, despite the heavy interest, Adu was not able to gain a work permit, meaning that he wouldn't be allowed to play in any competitive games. But Sir Alex did say that they would keep an eye on him and his progress, and in a few years' time, if he's still looking good, they would sign him. Well, that never happened. Eventually, towards the end of 2006, despite Freddy Adu, 16 years old now, getting more game time with DC United, he still wasn't that happy. That's because Freddy wanted to play more as a number 10, while DC United was pushing him out more to the side as a winger, and wingers have more defensive responsibilities than a 10 does, which is something Freddy wasn't too interested in contributing in. Therefore, Real Salt Lake, another MLS team, promised to give Freddy Adu the 10 role if he agreed on the trade to them, and Freddy accepted. His time at Real Salt Lake wasn't anything special, but throughout that time, he was given the honor of captaining the US Under-20 side at the 2007 Under-20 World Cup in Canada, becoming the second player ever to play in 3 Under-20 World Cups. And with that, Freddy Adu excelled once again, silencing the doubters after his relatively poor stint at Real Salt Lake. At this World Cup, Freddy Adu scored a hat-trick against Poland, making him the first player ever to score a hat-trick in both the Under-17 and Under-20 World Cup, and then assisted both goals in their 2-1 win over Brazil. With these great performances, Adu would capture the European interest despite his normal MLS stats, and at the conclusion of the Under-20 World Cup, Portuguese giants Benfica secured Freddy Adu from the MLS for $2 million, which was probably the right move, because Benfica is a club well known for developing young football talents. But before we go on and talk about Freddy Adu's time in Europe, please remember to subscribe to the channel. I'd really appreciate it and it means a lot, so thank you. And also, if you guys can, follow my Twitter and my Instagram, both at Nabuto, if you just want to hear my thoughts on football games, transfers, and overall, just to get to know me more. So if you want to, feel free to hit me up with that follow. Thank you. Now, Freddy Adu was still a young 18-year-old, so when he only managed to score 2 goals in 14 games for the Portuguese Giants, it wasn't some red alarm that things weren't going well. All he had to do was to be patient and trust the process, and hopefully Benfica would give him more chances. But Freddy Adu thought otherwise. Instead, Freddy Adu wanted first team minutes elsewhere, and he decided to join AS Monaco on a season-long loan, with there also being an option to buy. On the other hand, Angel Di Maria was there with Freddy Adu at the same time at Benfica, and with Adu leaving, Di Maria stayed patient and got his chance with Benfica, to then becoming a world-class player who played for Real Madrid, PSG, and the Argentinian national team, winning trophies everywhere. While Adu, on the other hand, yeah, it didn't go so well. Now, you guys might be thinking that I'm being way too harsh on Freddy Adu right now, but he himself stated that him not staying patient like Di Maria at Benfica and going to Monaco was the worst decision he made in his football career. Anyways, as you can imagine, going to Monaco started the downward spiral of Freddy Adu's career. After a season with Monaco, they didn't want to keep him permanently, so he got sent back to Benfica after participating in the Gold Cup with the United States in 2009. Then for the following campaign, he got loaned down to Portuguese club Belenenses, but after just making one league start, he got injured and his season-long loan got cut short. Then in January 2010, he signed to Greek club Aris FC, but after only scoring 1 goal and getting 2 assists in a year's time, he went back to Benfica, where he would then get loaned down to 2nd Division Turkish side Seiko Rizespor. And although that was his most impressive season in Europe, with him scoring 4 goals and getting 1 assist in 11 games, the 2nd Division in Turkey wasn't where people expected the American Pelé to be at. But although Freddy Adu has been a professional footballer for many years now, he was still only 21 years old at the time, which was still really young for him to kick back his football career and become America's first genuine superstar on the international level. And speaking of the US, he actually got called into the 2011 Gold Cup for the United States, and him starting a good move in the semi-final against Panama got the US the winner in the game to be sent to the final. And then after that, he got the opportunity to start against Mexico in the 2011 Gold Cup final. And although they lost 4-2, Freddy Adu played a part in both American goals. And to this day, he described this game as one of the best games he's ever played. Sadly for him though, this was the last time that Freddy Adu would ever suit up for the Stars and Stripes. With Bob Bradley, the US coach that trusted him, got sacked, and Jurgen Klinsmann took over, and he never gave Freddy Adu a chance to play for the States. Back to Adu's career timeline, after a somewhat successful Gold Cup, Freddy Adu thought it would be better to return to the MLS to reignite his career. And that's what he did when he joined Philadelphia Union to link back up with his former DC United coach, Peter Nowak. Now Freddy Adu was nowhere near the star of the league when he rejoined the MLS, with the league now having superstars like David Beckham, Thierry Henry, etc. But Freddy Adu was still getting a bag, and he was getting paid more than almost everybody in the MLS. Now Adu's 2012 season for the Union was actually one of the best seasons ever, with him scoring 8 goals, which obviously isn't world class or Pelé related standards, but it seemed like Adu might have been reigniting his career to maybe bring him back to stardom. However, instead of staying patient in the MLS and continuing to play for the Philadelphia Union, Freddy Adu was eager to make his name on foreign soil once again, and he decided to join Bahia over in Brazil. However, after 4 games, Freddy Adu was released by the club, with Adu claiming contractual obligations weren't met from the ownership of the Brazilian club. After this, for around 8 months, Freddy Adu would go around Europe, trying for different clubs, like English Blackpool, Norwegian club Stabæk, which was conveniently managed by the former US coach Bob Bradley that really liked him, and even the Dutch club AZ Alkmaar. But none of these clubs offered Freddy Adu a professional contract. Instead, in the summer of 2014, Freddy Adu signed with a Serbian club, FK Jagodina, for a 1.5-year deal. However, after just 1 appearance, Adu was released by the club, and then in March 2015, Adu was signed with the Finland 3rd Division club called SC Kuopio Futis 98. But after a few months, Adu agreed to the termination of his contract over there as well. A week later though, he would actually return to the United States, but he wouldn't be joining an MLS club. Instead, he joined the USL club, which is a 2nd Division club by the way, Tampa Bay Rowdies. However, after 13 appearances with them, Freddy Adu was released, and he wouldn't be able to find another club for 2 years, despite having trials with the Portland Timbers and Polish sign Sandecza Nowy Sox. I definitely butchered that name, I'm not gonna lie. But eventually, Adu would find a new club in the Las Vegas Lights FC, another USL club. And despite scoring 1 goal in 14 games in the regular season, he was released towards the end of 2018. However, Freddy Adu was not finished yet, because 2 years later in October 2020, despite turning himself into a youth football coach in Maryland, Freddy Adu joined Österlen FF, a club that was recently promoted to the 3rd tier of Swedish football. But even in the 3rd tier of Sweden, and even after Freddy Adu expressed his excitement of getting to play professional football again, his contract was terminated only after a month, with the club saying that Adu was not physically or mentally fit enough to be competitive in the league, while Adu said that there was some internal conflict within the club that led to his release. And there you have it. That was Freddy Adu's career. What does he do now, you may ask? Well, from my understanding, he has some guest soccer related appearances on TV, and he tweets a lot about football on Twitter. And no cap, he's got some really good takes. Maybe the US Soccer Federation should listen to him. He knows what he's talking about. Now, you also might be wondering, how exactly did Freddy Adu become the biggest Wonder Kid bust of all time? How did he go from hero to zero? Well, when you had the world at your feet at 14 years old, and yes, he was actually 14, Grant Wall, an ex-American soccer journalist, may he rest in peace, did come out and say that they found records in Ghana that matched his birthday that he had in the US. But like I was saying, when you're being noticed by A-list celebrities, going everywhere you want, getting paid a ton of money at a young age, it's obviously going to affect you mentally. And because of that, all of this pressure started to weigh on him probably, and he just couldn't live up to those high standards. Also, when you have a bunch of yes men in your ears telling you that you're the shit, and when you're not getting game time right away at big clubs like Benfica, you're probably going to think, hey, maybe I deserve better, when in all honesty, you probably don't. But overall, I was too young to truly see the impact of Freddy Adu on American soccer. But from what it sounds like, regardless of him not living up to his sky-high Pelé-esque expectations, he still played a huge part in growing the game of football in the United States. And I'm sure he's playing a role in influencing American players to being smarter with their careers. In fact, Kevin Sullivan just broke his youngest MLS debutant record, and I hope he takes a page out of Freddy Adu's book and not let the hype get into his head too much, and stay grounded and focus on your craft. But overall, the streets will never forget Freddy Adu, that's for sure. Anyways, if you enjoyed this video, please remember to subscribe to the channel, I'd really appreciate it. And please be sure to follow my Twitter Twitter, and my Instagram. The links are in my YouTube description. And last but not least, if you want to learn more about a wonder kid that's going crazy right now, Lamine Yamal, you definitely want to check out this video right here. You won't regret it.